It's funny how when you tell a story from high school, being at your child years, whatever it might be, from a long time ago, that it kind of isn't always the way the original story went. And there's no one to fact check it because you're usually the only one there. Now, if multiple people have experienced it and they're all talking about that shared story from college, maybe someone can correct you on what you say. But it's always funny how memory kind of gets fuzzy over the years. And I'm one who can embellish on things on times that are older stories. If it was, we saw on our honeymoon, for example, this story is one that it's a fish story. Yeah. So obviously fish stories, it was this big, stuff like that. On our honeymoon, we went to Bermuda, and at the resort, you could feed fish. There were these wild fish, just, I don't know what they were, but people would bring bananas and they'd eat the bananas. Like, you peel them and they'd come up to you and they'd go, it was wild. You could go in there with them too, and you could use like a snorkel, and it wasn't very deep. It was maybe 2.5 feet, 3 feet deep at max. And we noticed one time when we were in there, or maybe it was just me. No, I think there was us and some girls from New Jersey, I want to say. And because I guess a lot of people from New York, New Jersey go to Bermuda because it's a really short flight. It's actually like off the coast of North Carolina. You wouldn't believe it, how close it is. But the fish were acting real weird, and they were all kind of huddled towards the shore. And we realized that there was a barracuda in the water. Now, at the time, from my vantage point, it didn't look more than maybe a foot. Max. Clearly, it was big enough to make these fish feel threatened, and these fish were probably about 8 inches, 7 inches long. My wife and the other girls from New Jersey, they all got out and they were like, "You got to get out of the water. There's a barracuda in the water." I was like, "It's not that big. It's not that big." They're like, "No, it's big. You can't see it." It never ever came up, but if you've ever seen like a barracuda go at something, they are fast. And I can tell you, they are way faster than my butt in water. 100%. Especially water that you have to walk through because you can't swim. Not that I can't swim, but that it's shallow enough where swimming wouldn't make any sense. Every time I tell that story, with the exception of this time, because I think I got it roughly right, that barracuda always gets just a little bit bigger every time I tell that story. And again, it's not intentional, I don't think, but every time I tell that story, the barracuda, the size changes, and it always goes in the bigger direction, not the smaller direction. My wife does the same thing, because especially since I was the one who was kind of being the idiot who was in the water with a barracuda, surrounded by its food. But it's funny how memory kind of gets fuzzy over time, and we don't remember things the way that we think we did, or how sometimes you'll have a smell of something and it'll like make you remember a memory of, your childhood. The other day I was listening to Linkin Park, one of the like original songs from I think their first or second album, and just hearing that music reminded me back in like 2002. No, 2002. Oh, I'm old. 2002, when I was driving in my yellow Honda with the music playing at night, with the windows down, driving to a friend's house, and it just took me right back there hearing that music. And it's funny how that I remember that, and that might have only happened once. And I couldn't tell you what I had for breakfast this morning. I couldn't tell you what happened last weekend. I can barely remember much. But for some reason, that stuck with me from hearing that music that one time I was driving to my friend's house. And I don't even remember what I was doing. It wasn't anything special. I just happened to be in the car driving at that point. But it's interesting how memories just aren't reliable. And you watch some of these like documentaries and things like that, and they say, well, memories, like a witness is terrible. as far as, proving things because they don't remember, especially in a high stress situation, details correctly. And there's plenty of examples of that. And I don't remember what exactly it is that causes that, but there's like an Adam Ruins Everything, where Adam Conover talks about specific things, and memory is one of them. I think it's like the law enforcement episode or crime scene investigation, something like that. And it talks about how like your brain kind of changes things that happen, like wearing glasses, weren't wearing glasses, what color shirt you were wearing, things of that nature. This is why I really love things like this, my camera and our phones with cameras now, and being able to take videos and putting them up online, or just storing them somewhere where they're easily accessible, like on a digital photograph frame, or on the TV as a screensaver where it just plays through albums and things like that. Like our Google TV and Home do that. So, especially now that we have kids, like I want to remember these times, and I know I'm not going to. I can barely remember things from when me and my wife were dating, and that was only 8 years ago. And my kids are not even that old. So my goal, and I have photos from when I was a kid. I know we had a family video camera, but we recorded nothing back then. Plus those things were huge and heavy, and you probably had to carry around multiple VHS tapes, because I think they probably only covered like an hour, where, things like this, I could run this for a couple hours and it's not going to overheat. I could just pop in another memory card, and they're like, yay big. They're not, 8 inches by 5 inches, whatever a videotape was back then, or the high 8s, which are just a little bit smaller. That was my first video camera I had, was a high 8, and it, like, the camera twisted the screen, and I actually saw one at a Goodwill not that long ago, and I was like, oh, that'd be so cool to get that. And then I remembered, oh wait, mine broke, and I bet you can't buy those tapes anymore. So no point in spending money on something that's of inferior quality to what I'm using right now, I suppose, other than the nostalgia's sake of it. But what I like about that is I can have these memories. Like, my memory might be shot at this point, at being 38, 39. I don't remember memory. But being able to go back and watch our videos, like of our Disney trips, or trips when the kids were little and we went to the zoo, or we went to the farm, or we just happened to be, filming Christmas, or we have those now. And I don't have to think I remember how they sounded, or what their reactions were, or when the first time my son said dada. I have that on video now. So like, I don't need to forget it or misremember it. I can just watch it. And I've gotten to the point now where our kids really enjoy going back and watching things that they've done, or they did, or experienced. Going back and watching our Disney trips is something they really like to do. We watch a lot of Disney content because, again, we're a Disney family, and I think we're soon to be a Universal, based on Epic Universe and How to Train Your Dragon and Super Mario World and all that kind of stuff. But Donkey Kong, neither here nor there. But being able to document certain aspects for the sake of remembering them. Like, I just got a DVD burner. I can't remember the last time I did DVDs, or burn them for that matter. But now they make dual layer, and they're super cheap. You can even burn your own Blu-rays now, which is amazing. But like, I'm downloading some of these videos and I'm burning them to a disc, and I'm going to store them that way, because who knows if the cloud goes. And yes, maybe we'll have to buy another DVD player someday, because they're really expensive now. But I'll have those. They'll go back and have the kids watch. And when our kids have kids, they'll be able to show them, oh, remember, let me show you when I was like 3 years old and I went to Disney. This trip was amazing. I want us to have this kind of trip too. So I really enjoy this. And I've got so many hours of footage that I haven't looked at in years. I have edited a lot of them into movies and videos and have them up in various places, but some of it I haven't looked at in years, and I keep meaning to. But I've got multiple external drives of stuff. So in the event, none of it's password protected too. So if I go unexpectedly, the kids can see all of it. They can find everything. They can watch these videos if they want to remember how I sound. From my dad, I have one voicemail from him telling me that my car got picked up from the house because the turbo had blown up on it, and they picked it up to take it to the shop. I've had that in my phone. It was before my dad got sick, so it's over the 11 years. But that's the only recording. Like I didn't really have cameras back then like I do now. They weren't as readily available, so I don't really have any videos of his voice anymore, or recordings. We've got pictures, sure, from our family trips and things like that, but even those are limited. We didn't post a lot of them, and they're lost to other phones in the junk drawer or electronics in our house. I don't know, or SD cards that may not even work anymore. And for my kids, I want them to be able to look back on those things, see them, remember how I sound, and maybe it's more for my sake and peace of mind than it actually is for them, to be quite honest. But I think that's okay. I just want them to be able to look back and remember all the good or bad times. We've got that on video too, to be honest. Temper tantrums and screaming and yelling for things, but that's part of it. Part of our brains being able to forget the bad stuff or the hard things, for instance, can lead us to having another kid. It was very hard when they were little, specifically when they had other kids we had other kids to take care of. So that's why we ended up with just two. But, you kind of forget about how hard it was. The sleepless nights, the throw up, having to test things, emergencies with the baby because they swallowed something, or they had an allergic reaction, or whatever it might be. They're sick, their eardrums burst, all that kind of stuff. You forget about all that, and you just remember all the baby smiles and all those kind of things, which makes you want another one. When in reality, it's just going to be as tough or harder that next time around because you have 2 more to take care of, 3 more to take care of, whatever it might be. So yeah, I always find it interesting the way memory kind of dictates our choices, when a lot of times the way you remember something might not be the way that it actually happened.